Hey everyone, welcome back to Rugged DIY. So you've actually joined me right in the middle of a renovation of the second floor of my home. I shot some video yesterday, but when we went back and took a look at the video, it turned out that we were having some issues with focus, so everything that I shot, except for a couple of cuts, was essentially lost. But what we're doing is we're renovating the last bedroom that I have in the second level of my home. So yesterday what I did is I started off by removing all of the molding around the baseboards, the windows, and then working on removing a jamb that's at the top of the stairs. And the jamb was set up for an actual door, but I'm not going to be putting a door there anymore. But what I am going to do is I'm going to rebuild that jamb as just kind of a more decorative jamb. I'm not going to put everything in there for an actual door. If somebody wanted to come back later because they wanted to, they would be able to use it. It would be a reinforced jamb. And I also started removing, as you can see back here, the carpet. So I've got everything rolled up, I've got all of the carpet matting ready to go, and I'm gonna do a dump run today, go ahead and get rid of that stuff, and then when I come back, we'll spend the day working on the access door that's right back there for the attic crawl space. I purchased an insulated door that's a metal door that will help protect the upstairs from all of that heat coming in. And as part of this renovation, I'm also going to be doing some reinforced insulation inside of that attic crawl space, which will be a separate portion of this overall renovation. But the big thing to get done right now is I need to get this room finished, painted, have all of the baseboards put back in, the closet rebuilt, because I've purchased some carpet that I'm going to have installed. All right, so I got a lot to do. We really got to get moving. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of this carpet and matting, and then when I'm done with that, we'll come back here and get started on installing that attic crawl space door. Okay, everybody, so I'm back now. I was able to get all of the carpet and the carpet matting removed and taken to the dump. So what I want to start on now is the attic crawl space. Okay, so what they've got covering it right now is just a 1/4 inch piece of plywood. And you can actually feel the heat and humidity coming right through the wall. So what I've got instead is this access door. This access door is a metal door that is insulated, which will help reduce the amount of heat and humidity that's coming through the wall. Now, as I stated before, once we get everything done inside of this room as far as getting the walls repainted and getting the carpet in and the closet done, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to re-insulate inside of this attic crawl space to add a little bit more protection from the heat and humidity. That'll be later down the line once all this is done. So what I'm going to focus on right now is opening up this wall to create a larger space for the access door. And in that process, we'll be removing this vent because this vent is no longer used anyway. This was part of an old air conditioning system that was removed and replaced with a split system. And so this is just old and out of use and just needs to go away anyway. So we'll open up this wall to the correct dimensions for this access door, and then we're going to have to redo some of the framing of the drywall. And we'll close this up, and then all of this will be mudded over to smooth it out and eventually paint it. Okay, so the frame of the insulated door is about 30 1/4 inches square, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my rough opening a little bit larger, about 1/8 of an inch on each side, 1/8 of an inch on the top and bottom, give myself a little bit of space to kind of level it, and then I'll shim everything into place to make sure that it's all nice and level before I secure it in. So I've gone ahead and I'm going to make all my marks and cut out my rough opening. Before I do that though, I need to remove this vent and get that out of here. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And then once that's out and removed, we'll reframe everything back in. Okay, so I went in and I pulled back the insulation from the wall, and I made sure that there are no electrical wires that are running in the area that I'm going to be cutting. That way I could be sure that as I can start cutting everything, I'm not going to have any major disaster or cause any harm to myself. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut along these lines in the drywall, separate the drywall from the wall. And then what I'll do is I'll actually cut out the 2x4s and remove them. But by cutting away the drywall first, I can make sure that I'm not loosening all of the nails that are holding the drywall into place above my cut lines. Okay, so I've got the rough opening now. So now I need to rebuild the framing for the access door. So I've got to reinforce the 2x4s here at the base where the door is going to be resting, because when they initially put in the air conditioning system way back when this house was built, they cut away the 2x4 right here, or stud if you prefer to call it that, so that the vent could come up and come through the wall. So I've got to reinforce that because the frame is going to be sitting right over top of where that space is. So that's what I gotta do now. Okay, so I'm back from the lumber store. I've got the lumber that I needed, and I already went ahead and measured and pre-cut these and fit them. So now what I'm gonna do is, this is actually going to be the top beam for the support up here. And I'm gonna secure these together before I secure them into place. And I'll show you this as a close-up. But for this cut portion here, I'm going to take this piece of wood and stick it underneath as a support. And then I'm going to take this piece and place it right in between there. And then once I have this piece into position and I have these pieces into position, then what I can do is I can frame in around the sides of the door and put in a couple of studs on either side of the door so that I can shim them into place and get everything set. Once I have all of the studs into place, then I'll go ahead and put the drywall up, and we'll go ahead and put up the first layer of tape and mud tonight and let that sit. Okay, so let's go ahead and secure these pieces together. Okay, so we've got the top support beam, but we've patched this up now. So now all we have to do is figure out where we want the door to sit within this opening, and then we can set the 2x4s on, or studs on either side of the door, and then attach those. And then all we have to do is close out everything with the drywall, let all of that dry up, paint it, put the door in, and this is set. Okay, so I've got my 2 studs, and when I measured them, I went ahead and wrote down on a piece of paper what the measurements were. That's really important. Starting out, sometimes you make the mistake of doing a measurement, you're thinking, I'll remember all these measurements, and you get there, you make your cuts, you come back, and you realize you cut it too long, you cut it too short. Always write it down. And the other thing that I do after I make my cut is I actually write down the length on my piece. That way I know where it goes, and I'm not fiddling back and forth on what's what. Now, as I place these, what I want to do is actually bring the door over. I'm going to shim it into place, and then I'll set each stud on either side. And once I'm comfortable with the level of the door, I'll stick these in and secure them. And I know that I can then secure down the door in its place. But I'm not going to be securing the door yet until I do all the drywall, because I'm going to have to do mudding and painting anyway. But I want to bring it over, get my exact position. Now, I'll bring the door over. I'm going to set them into place because I can always knock them over closer to the door once I get it set. So, I set the door in place before I made these cuts, where I wanted the door to sit. And then I marked on the wood where I intend for the inside edge of the stud to be. So this is my 11/16, or 30 inch and 11/16. Set it a little bit wide for now, because I can always kind of knock it into place. It's a little bit wide of my mark. This one was 30 7/16. Bring that in from behind. It's a little bit tighter to fit. Made it a little bit wide of my opening. Alright, now after doing that rough end, I went ahead and made a mark where I want my studs to be. So now I can go ahead and secure those down. And I went ahead and secured a shim in the place where I needed it in order to get the access door level. Now I'll shim it the rest of the way when I secure it all in, but at least I've got that there as kind of a reference point. So I'll go ahead and secure in the 2x4s.